America First, a controversial topic. Now, whether you believe those two words are a patriotic battle cry or a dog whistle shrouded in red, white, and blue bunting, there's no denying that Donald Trump's signature agenda has left a mark on America. Over the next little while, we'll unpack 10 controversial topics related to President Trump's America First doctrine. You'll hear the arguments from both sides of the aisle. You decide. Number 1, tariffs and trade wars are bad. Tariffs, those magical economic tools that, when wielded correctly, are supposed to protect American jobs and bring naughty trading partners to heel.
Republicans who support the America First ethos see these trade wars, especially the one with China, as a righteous crusade against unfair trade practices. They believed slapping tariffs on goods will bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S.
Democrats, on the other hand, aren't quite sold on the whole trade war thing. They see those tariffs as more of a self-inflicted wound, driving up prices for American consumers and hurting businesses.
Number 2, Paris Agreement, climate accord or climate discord. Remember that time that the U.S. decided to bail on the Paris Climate Agreement, the landmark international effort to combat climate change? Yeah, that was a whole thing.
For many conservatives, ditching the Paris Agreement is a victory lap for American sovereignty. They argue that the agreement unfairly burdens U.S. industries with regulations, leading to job losses, and that other major polluters like China and India aren't exactly pulling their weight.
Liberals, understandably, aren't thrilled. They see President Trump's withdrawal as a reckless and irresponsible move that undermines global efforts to address the very real threat of climate change.
Number 3, immigration, building walls, dividing families. Immigration. It's one of those perennial, hot-button issues that politicians love to exploit, and the Trump administration is no exception.
Conservatives who cheer on these policies argue that they are necessary to protect American jobs, strengthen national security, and curb illegal immigration. They see a porous border as a threat to American sovereignty and a magnet for crime and chaos.
Liberals, however, see something far more sinister at play. They condemn President Trump's immigration policies as cruel, inhumane, and discriminatory.
Number 4, NAFTA. Renegotiated, rebranded, still debated. Remember NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement? Well, President Trump decided it needed a makeover. Enter the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, basically NAFTA 2.0, with a fresh coat of paint and a new name.
Supporters eager to tout a win for the America First agenda hail the USMCA as a victory for American workers. They argue that the updated agreement brings manufacturing jobs back to the United States, reducing the trade deficit and creating a more level playing field for American businesses.
Opposers say that it will bring on only the opposite. Democrats argue that the USMCA falls short in addressing key issues like labor rights and environmental protections. They believe it doesn't go far enough to combat climate change, protect workers, or support small businesses. Critics also point out that the agreement may not significantly reduce economic disparity or effectively balance trade relations.
Number 5, the Iran nuclear deal, a deal breaker for President Trump. The Iran nuclear deal, a landmark agreement painstakingly negotiated by the Obama administration and several world powers, was never really President Trump's cup of tea. So, in true Trump fashion, he ripped it up.
Republicans argue that the deal was flawed from the start, believing it gave Iran too much leeway and failed to prevent them from developing nuclear weapons in the long run.
Democrats, on the other hand, see the deal as a crucial step towards diplomacy and stability in the Middle East, arguing that it placed significant restrictions on Iran's nuclear program.
Number 6, NATO not always a friend, according to President Trump. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, has been a cornerstone of Western security for decades, providing a collective defense mechanism against potential threats. President Trump repeatedly clashes with NATO allies, accusing them of not paying their fair share for defense and demanding that they increase their military spending to meet the alliance's requirements. He sees NATO as a drain on American resources, a relic of the Cold War that no longer served U.S. interests in the modern geopolitical landscape.
Conservatives who embrace the America First worldview tend to agree with President Trump's assessment, arguing that the United States is carrying too much of the burden for NATO's collective defense, and that other member nations need to step up. They see President Trump's tough talk as a necessary corrective, a way to push NATO allies to take more responsibility and ensure a fairer distribution of defense costs.
On the other hand, Democrats argue that NATO is essential for maintaining global stability, and that the alliance strengthens U.S. security by fostering international cooperation. They believe that undermining NATO could embolden adversaries like Russia and weaken the collective defense that has kept peace in Europe for decades. Democrats also argue that the financial contributions to NATO are a small price to pay for the benefits of a strong, united front against common threats, and that the U.S. gains significant strategic advantages from its leadership role in the alliance.
Number 7, Buy American, Hire American. It's a catchy slogan, isn't it? It resonates with a sense of patriotism and national pride, and it perfectly encapsulates the protectionist ethos at the heart of President Trump's America First agenda, which aims to put American interests above all else. President Trump's Buy American, Hire American executive order is designed to prioritize American workers and businesses, ensuring they get the first shot at opportunities, particularly in government procurement and contracting, where billions of dollars are at stake. The idea is to boost domestic manufacturing, revitalize industries that had been in decline, create jobs for U.S. citizens, provide new opportunities for American workers, and reduce reliance on foreign goods and labor, aiming to make the U.S. economy more self-sufficient.
Conservatives laud the executive order as a much-needed corrective action to decades of globalization and free trade agreements that they believe had hollowed out American manufacturing and cost American jobs, leading to economic decline in many regions. They see it as a way to restore fairness and balance to the global economy, leveling the playing field for American businesses.
Liberals, however, argue that President Trump's protectionist policies are short-sighted and ultimately counterproductive, potentially harming international relationships and economic growth.
Number 8, tax cuts, the economic equivalent of comfort food for Republicans. And in 2017, they got a heaping helping of it with the passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, a signature achievement of the Trump presidency. The law slashes taxes for corporations and individuals, particularly those at the top of the income ladder, with the promise of unleashing an economic boom that would benefit everyone.
Conservatives, predictably, are ecstatic. They argue that the tax cuts spur investment, create jobs, and boost wages for all Americans. They see it as a way to unleash the power of the free market and restore American competitiveness.
Liberals, however, are skeptical, to say the least. They argue that trickle-down economics exacerbates income inequality, underfunds essential public services like education, infrastructure, and healthcare, and ultimately leads to economic instability. They believe a more equitable tax policy would better support the middle class and small businesses.
Number 9, no country occupies more space in the America First worldview than China. President Trump repeatedly accuses China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, currency manipulation, and generally being up to no good. His solution? A trade war. President Trump slapped tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, sparking a tit-for-tat trade dispute that rattled global markets.
Conservatives, by and large, support Trump's tough stance on China. They see it as long overdue, a necessary response to decades of Chinese economic aggression. They argue that the U.S. had been too lenient with China in the past and that it's time to get tough.
Liberals, however, are more divided. Many Democrats criticize the tariffs, arguing they hurt American consumers and businesses by raising prices and disrupting supply chains. They believe that a more collaborative approach with allies would be more effective in addressing China's trade practices. Democrats also emphasize the importance of multilateral agreements and working within international frameworks to hold China accountable. They argue that unilateral tariffs isolate the U.S. and could lead to long-term economic harm.
And finally, number 10, one of the few areas where Democrats and Republicans seem to agree is the need for a strong national defense. This consensus is often seen as a cornerstone of American politics, reflecting a shared belief in the importance of national security. However, they often have very different ideas about what that means in practice. The debate over how to achieve a strong defense can be intense and deeply partisan. President Trump, true to his America First ethos, makes increasing military spending a top priority. His administration argues that a robust military is essential for maintaining global dominance. He advocates a significant boost to the defense budget, arguing that it's necessary to rebuild the military after years of neglect. This move is seen as a way to restore American military might and to counter threats from adversaries like China and Russia. The growing military capabilities of these nations are often cited as justification for increased spending.
Conservatives, who generally favor a strong military, applaud President Trump's focus on defense spending. They believe that a well-funded military is crucial for national security. They argue that a powerful military is essential for deterring aggression, projecting American power abroad, and ensuring the safety of the nation, and protecting U.S. interests around the world. The presence of American forces in strategic locations is seen as a deterrent to potential adversaries.
Liberals, while acknowledging the need for a strong national defense, often argue that President Trump's military spending increases are excessive. They believe that the funds could be better allocated and came at the expense of other important priorities. Critics pointed to underfunded public services like healthcare and education as areas that suffer due to the focus on military spending.
Well, folks, there you have it. 10 hotly debated aspects of President Trump's America First agenda. From trade wars to immigration crackdowns, from withdrawing from international agreements to cozying up to authoritarian leaders, President Trump's foreign policy is anything but boring. Whether you believe his policies put America first or sent it careening off a cliff with a Budweiser in hand and a MAGA hat on its head, there's no denying that Trump's presidency leaves a lasting mark on the world stage. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topics discussed. Please leave your comments regardless of which side of each topic you're on. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more Top 10 videos.